Hello everyone. If you follow me on TikTok and Instagram, you may have seen the videos I've posted where I show off my castle. It was all recorded in one take, and I split it into three parts when editing. Part 1 showed off the first floor, Part 2 showed off the second floor, and Part 3 showed off the bottom levels. In one of the videos, someone left a comment saying that they're confused, and I figured if one person was confused, then maybe there's others like them. Also, I just really want an excuse to show off my castle again. So here's a longer video of me showing off my castle again. But this time I wanted to try something. In the corner of the screen, I'll include a screenshot of a map of my base, and I'll also include a little dot to indicate where we are in the castle. Off to the side, I'll also include a letter and a number to indicate which floor we're on, kind of similar to how the maps work in Legend of Zelda. I figured since a lot of the builds in this world were inspired by the Legend of Zelda franchise, that this seems fitting. Before I give a tour of my castle, I want to give some backstory about this realm. This realm was started after the second part of the Caves and Cliffs update, and I felt like starting all over again. Start a whole new world and make a whole new place. My friend was down, but he just wanted to make this one last world because I've we've played together since Xbox 360 with the Legacy Edition, and I would constantly make new worlds, and he was getting tired of it. So we agreed to make this one and essentially have this be our forever world. With the backstory out the way, I can start the tour of my castle. So first, here's an aerial view of what the castle looks like. As you can see, there's still some areas that are under construction, like the tower to the left and the bridges on each side of the castle. This castle has gone through many changes over the years, and I'll see if I have any screenshots of what this used to look like. The screenshot was taken from a video that my friend recorded back in 2023, I think. To the left of the castle is this pit I dug out, and what this area is going to be is like an outdoor barracks and a training yard. You can also see that there's an unfinished tower, and there's also going to be a wall there to make sure that the mobs don't fall in. Now, down over here is a farm I have. Now, it's still incomplete. I'm missing a pumpkin patch and a area to grow some melons. But other than that, I'd say it's fine. Now, you may have noticed that there's a path that leads to that gate over there, but there's also a path that leads to this gate right over here, and both gates separate my villagers from the castle and keeps them in the castle town that I built for them. It's gone through many changes over the years, and I'm still expanding it, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, minus villagers AI being bad, but that's not the focus of this video. Alright, so let's go check out the inside of the castle. To start the tour, let's make our way to the front door. Now, you may have already seen this area from the very beginning of the video, but this is the main hallway. At the other end of the hall, there's a set of stairs that lead you to the second floor. It also takes you to the area behind my room in this castle. Heading down this hallway for a bit, we reach this crossroad, and to the left of us is a library, and to the right of us is a set of stairs that lead to the lower levels. Turning back around, we're going to take a left into the library, and we're first greeted by this chest. To the left of us is an enchantment room with a whole bunch of bookshelves and this enchantment table. I wanted a better design, but I can't really think of anything with such a small space. Inside this chest currently are 5 lecterns that I plan to place in other libraries in the castle, but it will be filled with lapis and books. Behind this door is a room for a villager. I plan to have a librarian in here and plan to have more villagers roam around the castle. Right here in those empty spaces is where I'll be placing a lectern to the right and an anvil to the left. Over here, I just have my wall of bookcases filled with a bunch of different enchantment books. I mentioned earlier how I didn't like the design of the enchantment room because of the small space I was given. However, I've made better looking libraries and enchantment rooms with even a smaller space that you'll see eventually. Exiting the library and heading down this hallway, we reach the dining room. This place I'm really proud of with all the decoration, the pots, the flowers, even that painting there. I still need to get more. But to the right of the dining room is the kitchen. Now you see that there's empty spots on both sides of the crafting tables, and there was originally smokers. However, like I said, the villager AI is really bad, and some of the villagers from the castle town have been trying to get to the castle because there are job sites there. We also have these chests that store raw meat, ingredients, cooked meat, and baked and prepped goods. Behind me is this chest, and it's just filled with bowls, so that's where I store all the dishes. Now, if we leave the kitchen and head to the right of the dining room, we'll enter an area where it's essentially a hallway that consists of 3 rooms. These 3 rooms are meant for butchers that I plan to have in the castle. These 2 rooms over here consist of 1 bed each. I'll probably put a block in there with a potted plant for decoration so it doesn't look all sad. And over here are 2 beds, so these villagers will be sharing a potted plant together. Leaving the cook's corridor and heading out of the dining room, we enter this area, which I'll name the living room. It's a really nice place with a bunch of chairs and flowers and paintings. Something I remember is that before the room looked like this, from that design, I learned that the castle was like off. And then I had to quickly fix that mistake. Leaving the living room, we enter the grand hall. And this area, I struggled so much to figure out what I finally wanted from this area. But I think I finally landed on a design that I'm happy with. Essentially, what this is supposed to do is supposed to create a space where villagers come out and go to their spots to trade or just have a conversation with each other to make the whole castle look lively and look like people are busy, people interacting with each other, you know. And then you can also see that there is some iron doors. Those iron doors lead to a ladder that can take you up and down one of the 4 towers you saw from the aerial view. Going towards the center of the grand hall, we reach another crossroad, and to your left and to your right will be more hallways. Going down either one will lead you to this corridor here, and it consists of 4 rooms. These 4 rooms consist of 2 beds, and they're both for villagers. I'm trying to make this place as lively as I can. From the center of the grand hall, we reach the end, and at a new crossroad. Turning left, you are greeted with another library, with its many bookshelves and enchantment table in the center. This time I was able to make a better design for such a small area, and right next to it is an empty bookcase wall, and this chest that will eventually have lapis and books. If you were to take a right instead, you'd be greeted by another library. This one's much of the same as the other one. You got your bookshelves, your enchantment table. You got this area, which is supposed to have the lectern, which I forgot to show back there. You also have this chest that will eventually have books and lapis. What the right library has over the left library is this painting on the wall and a smiley face. Hey, so before I show the second floor, I just want to quickly note that I forgot to show the rooms that are right next to the libraries, and those are meant for the librarians. Both rooms have 2 beds each. Yeah, that's all I want to say. And that was all the first floor. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the second floor. So I'm just going to go to the right and up these stairs. And here we are at the wooden hallway. There's not much in this hallway. I should probably look into ways to decorate this space, but that's all it is for now. And behind me is this balcony over here. Before those gates were up and everything, you could see the castle town, but you can't really see much because these trees are in the way now. Heading down this hallway at the crossroad, I'm going to take a right and through these doors. We get this little area to walk around outside. Heading towards this ladder will take you up to the top of this tower. In the aerial view, you might have been able to see them, but I have 2 snow golems up in this tower. I have them there to just guard the area, but they probably can't see past that those andesite blocks there, so kind of renders them useless, but they're nice to have. It gives the castle character, you know? Now let's head back to the wooden hallway. We're going to be going through the doors on the left of the crossroad, and through here it's going to be much of the same. It's just going to be a small area for you to walk around in, and it gives you a nice view of the farm from here. There's a skeleton horse in the beetroot farm. You can also get a view of the beacon from over there in my town, and you can also see the training yard there. And then the doors to your left from where you came is this tower. Before all the changes to the castle, this tower used to be like some kind of magic area. So the first floor had the enchantment table. This second floor would have a brewing table. The third floor here would have a bunch of barrels and chests for you to store ingredients for potions. It gives you a view of the castle town and farm. And then when we get to the fourth floor, this area originally had a netherwort farm. And before the beacon, I have that lodestone, and that was used for a way to get back home. But I also play with show coordinates, so that renders the lodestone useless. Heading back to this wooden hallway, we're just going to go down this hall. And this place is in desperate need of decoration, but it's those potted plants are the best I got. Through these doors, we reach this area, and this place is located above the dining room. And we have these 2 towers here. Originally, I was going to make this like some kind of defense area, but I also want to turn this into some kind of like outdoor marketplace. So I'm kind of doing a bit of both. I'm going to have snow golems patrolling the areas, and then these spaces right here are where some villagers are going to be. And over here is just a nice area to roam around and just enjoy the view. And that guy just spawned in. But this is just a nice place to enjoy the view, and you can watch the sunset over there. And on the opposite end, you can just come over here and watch the sunrise, which is neat. I didn't think that. But over here, it gives you a view of the sun rising and as well as the training yard with the one horse in there. So let's just head back over here and let's head through these iron gates. Now, if you're curious about the iron doors, the reason why I have these iron doors is because I've already established that I want to have villagers roaming around the castle to make it feel alive and inhabited. But the issue with that is that there's certain areas where I don't want villagers to go in, specifically my room and guest rooms. So the plan was to have dedicated areas where players can roam and have gates to separate the villagers from them. Okay, with that explanation out the way, let's just go ahead and go through these iron doors and wait a minute. Oh
Yeah.
my god, you crucified 2 golems! Going through those iron doors, we reach this area of the castle. And as I mentioned before, this is one of the areas where I only want players like me and my friends to be in. And that's because over here I have 2 guest homes for any of my friends to find a bed and sleep in, and won't be occupied by villagers. And you can also see that there's these 2 towers on this side of the castle. There's more towers on the other side. And over here we have this bridge that expands over to that land over there. Heading back towards the iron gates and facing this building, we're going to check out the left side. Similar to the right side, we have the 2 towers, and we also have these 2 guest homes. And over here, you can also get a sneak peek at my my room in there. But going back, we see this bridge. Similar to the other side, I'm expanding towards this hill. But this area is going to be like a nice little garden, and that's where I'm going to keep my happy guests. Heading back towards the iron doors, we're going to just face this building. And this building holds the throne room and my room. Going through these doors and closing them behind us, we're greeted by this spruce wood throne. You may have already caught it, but there's stairs on each side that leads to the 3rd floor. Now, the throne room is a bit small, and it is missing some decor, like potted plants, carpet, maybe even some banners. But I do like how it turned out. Now, behind the throne, there is another room, and you've already got a quick peek at it when I was checking out the left side of the castle. But this room right here is my personal room. Everything I need, all in one place. Crafting table, furnace, chest, end chest, my netherite armor, my bed. Everything you need right here, and it's perfect. It's accessible by going through one of the doors that are on either side of the throne. Back at the main entrance of the throne room, we're just going to go up these set of stairs and head to the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor really just consists of this balcony area and the catwalk over there. This area is located above my room, and this area is just to look behind the castle and just admire the scenery behind. I also recently used this area to celebrate holidays and make the area look festive. For example, I made this area like an ofrenda for Dia de los Muertos, and in that chest is all the supplies to make the ofrenda again. And I'm probably going to continue using it for holidays. Going through the doorway on the left and then heading up the stairs to the right, we're at the 4th floor. And this area doesn't really serve much of a purpose other than just sightseeing. You can see the walls that guard the castle town over there, and you can see the tower over there with the beacon. And then you got the center area, which I don't know what to make of it, but I will come up with something eventually. Now here we are back on the 2nd floor, and I just wanted to show you one of these guest homes really quick, just to show what's inside one of these. You have your own personal chest, a bed, a crafting table, a furnace, and just a little pot for decoration. It was supposed to have a flower, but I forgot. But yeah, that's pretty much what's inside of all the guest homes. Now, if you remember from the beginning, I said that there's a set of stairs all the way down the hall that lead to the 2nd floor, and this is the area that it leads to. On both sides, there's these homes, and these homes are meant for villagers. You can see with the number of beds, homes, and rooms that I'm really trying to make this castle feel alive. Sure, it might get annoying that some villagers get in the way, but easy access to trade. Now, I could make one of those villager trade halls, but I don't want to do that. I'm trying to make this castle look alive. Plus, I'm not a sick, twisted ruler. Those copper golems, that was my friend, not me. He's the crazy ruler. So now that we're back at the entrance, we're going to head down this hall, and at the crossroads, this time we're going to take a right down to the lower levels. We're going to take these stairs, and then here we are. This is the first bottom floor, and this entire area, both bottom floor number 1 and 2, were formerly known as the barracks. Over time, I decided to change that idea of like making the barracks indoors of the castle, and then move them out there to the training yard because it just made more sense to me. Now, heading to the left, and down here is the map room. To your left are some chests filled with paper and empty maps. Right in front of me is this big 3x4 incomplete map that just shows my castle and castle town. And over here are 2 rooms. Right now, they're both empty, and they will eventually have a bed and like a little decoration in the room so it doesn't look empty. Exiting the map room, you'll see 2 iron doors at the very far end of this hall, but we'll come back to that later. To the left of the map room is this empty room. I currently have no plans for it, but I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. Now, if we just turn back around, we'll finally get to the 2 iron doors at the very far end. Now, if we just walk across this catwalk, we reach these iron doors, and going through these doors, we'll reach this hallway. And in this hallway, you can see that there's 2 iron doors on each side of the hallway. Same thing with the grand hall. So this area is my storage room, which from the iron doors, you can assume that this is directly underneath the grand hall. Back here is another hallway, which leads to those iron doors that lead you to the towers. Now, judging by the map, there's probably enough space behind it for me to dig out and create another room or so, but right now I can't think of anything. So we'll just go ahead and show the second bottom floor. And to get to the second bottom floor, all you have to do is go across the catwalk and then take the stairs on either side. Or alternatively, you could use the iron doors and use the ladder to get down. As mentioned before, this place used to be the barracks. This hallway specifically used to be the living quarters of the barracks. Over here, we reach another area that has a bunch of doors that lead to more villager rooms. Similar to other rooms in the castle, this is like a small 2x3 room. Enough space for a bed, and then a miscellaneous block to be used as a table. If we look to the right side, it's pretty much the same. More rooms, no bed, no decoration right now. Now, if we shift our focus to the doors on the left, out here we got this big training yard, and eventually I'll build some barracks out here. Yeah, I still need to get started on this and complete it. Hopefully, I get some ideas on what kind of training yard I want to build, like where I want the smithing stuff, where I want the archery area, and all that stuff. Now, back in the hallway with the armor stands, we're gonna go past these archways and then head to this hallway. Now, this hallway is identical to the one above us, which means that we're directly underneath the storage room. And heading past this hallway, we reach this big hall that's directly underneath the storage room. Now, originally, I didn't have a name for this area, but thanks to one of the commenters on Instagram, I'm going to start naming this place the Enchanter's Quarters. Now, over here, we got an alchemy lab, and it's a bit small, so I will probably make this area a little bit bigger for in the future. And over here is this dark stairway that leads to double doors. We'll just ignore that for now. And then we're going to go across the hall into this area, which, what a surprise, more rooms for villagers. I should really put some torches or some lanterns in here. It is pretty dark and mobs could spawn in there. But so far, nothing has spawned in, so I should be fine. Now, heading down these set of stairs, we're going to go down to bottom level 3 or basement level 3. And this area doesn't have much decoration. There, you can see that there's doorways and archways where I intend to put something there in the future. But as of right now, all we have here are these 2 iron doors. And if we go through these iron doors, damn. And if we go through these iron doors, we'll reach my portal room. And the idea I was going here was that the nether has started coming to the overworld and that all the heat from lava has made the stone bricks crack. I also wanted to make that portal kind of look like it's crying, and by doing that, I used crying obsidian. Now, heading out of the portal room, I'm going to make my way back upstairs to basement or bottom level 2. The reason for going back is because I forgot to show one room while I was showcasing that level. So underneath the catwalk and between these stairs is this hallway, and in this hallway there's some more rooms for villagers, specifically librarians. There's not much else to say. It's basically the same rooms that I showed you before, the 2x3 rooms. Right now they're empty with no beds or decorations. But now let's head into this library over here. This originally used to be my storage room. those rooms and this library, they all used to be part of this storage room, and before I remodeled this area. But yeah, and then you also got these nice buttons up here. It's a nice little detail, you know. And I plan to have some like desks in those empty spaces there at the end of the on both ends of the library. Now before we end this video, there is one more place I want to show off, and it's this area hidden within my castle. It's not accessible through doors, so you'll have to find your way in here. But this area is my enchanted spring. I tried mimicking the lush caves as the best I could, and here I have a bunch of glowberries, some axolotls in the spring. You also saw that amethyst geode that had the enchantment table, and across from the amethyst geode is this alchemy lab I have over here, with dripstone dripping water into those cauldrons, so I have an infinite water source. And off to the side with those chests over there, that's essentially the storage room for all the potions and ingredients. And right here you can see my netherwort farm, and there's a button, and pushing that button will activate the pistons to push forward the stone bricks, harvesting all that netherwort. And that concludes my castle showcase. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for sticking around and listening to me yap about my base. I was planning to make this video and release it a whole lot sooner, but this is the first time I've ever made like a 20-minute long video, so I was a little bit too hopeful for that. But like I said, thank you so much for sticking around. See ya.